Hello, welcome to tutorial 185. A Markplex customer asked me how I would go about creating a program that showed information about rectangles that he has drawn on the chart, or he has drawn on the chart, and that's what this program does. So if, for example, we hover over these bars within the rectangle, you'll see towards the bottom that it's telling us that there are 45 bars in this rectangle and that the price difference is 128. And then if we move outside the rectangle, that information disappears. If we then move to another rectangle, we get different information, including the number of bars, the price diff. You'll also notice that for the latest rectangle, that the information 45 bars and 128 is reflected up here as well. So how do we go about this? And it's not as easy as it looks. Now, the key to getting information in the data tip is to plot that information. So what we need to do is find a way of plotting information about rectangles that are drawn potentially in the past. My initial way of doing this was to go back and plot, because we can plot values using square brackets in the past, previous bars. And that worked fine, but the problem is when you do that, if the program is set up to change the max bars back automatically, then every time you go back a certain number of bars, then the max bars back setting is changed. And that can cause problems, because eventually if you draw a rectangle many bars ago, then the program sets the max bars back, and that max bars back might be a greater number of bars than where your rectangle is located. So I actually chose a different approach, and that was to, every time a rectangle is drawn or clicked, the program goes through all the rectangles on the chart and puts the relevant information, i.e. the number of bars and the price difference. Of course, you could change this information to whatever you like, into Appstorage. Appstorage remains even when the chart is reloaded. So having got that information, the program forces a reload, and then program, as it's redrawing all the bars from the first bar to the last bar, it looks into Appstorage and says, do I have any information for this bar? If it does, it plots the information. So that probably sounds like gobbledygook. Let me just go through and show you what that looks like in the program. And this program is available for download, although you're quite welcome to make notes and type it in again. So I'll just try and do this in a relatively logical order. The guts of the program are this method which I've called PlotVals. And what this does, it first of all stores all the rectangles into a vector called vect_rectangles, clears the Appstorage, and then it goes through the vector of vect_rectangles and grabs the information about each rectangle. For example, the start datetime point, start point, and it works out the date time of that point. The end point of the rectangle, and puts it into NDTPT, and then it works out the date time of that. Now we know the date time of this hand-drawn rectangle. What we really need are the bar numbers, and to find the bar numbers, what I've done is created another method called DTtoBN. The way this works is each bar on the chart, as we go through the chart, the bar number is stored in a vector called B bar n. Equally, the date time is stored in another vector called bar dt. So in other words, on bar number 1, that would be stored in the 0 position of bar n, and equally the date time of that first bar would be stored in the 0 position of bar dt, and so forth as we go through the chart. And that's what this method relies on. So the method is DTtoBN. It has an input of the date time, and it outputs the bar number equivalent of the date time. So what I said is, if the date time that we're inputting into this method is less than the first bar date time of the chart, or it's greater than the last one, then we return bar number is -1, just to say that it's effectively not one of the bars on the chart. However, otherwise we go through the values for bar DT, and we say if the bar DT value is greater or equal to DT, then we break, and we then return, or rather bar number is then equal to bar number of this value where we've effectively broken out of this loop, and then we return that bar number. So that is the method of changing the date time to the bar number, and from that we can work out how many bars are in the rectangle. So for each of the rectangles on the chart, and we know that for each rectangle the start bar number is the first bar on the rectangle, the end bar number is the last one. For each of the rectangles we go through those bars and we add information to the Appstorage. So we add the counter, which is the bar number. That is going to be our key, and then the information we need to add, the data, is actually the number of bars, which is going to be the start bar number minus end bar number, and we do absolute value and we add 1, and then we turn it to a string because the Appstorage is storing strings. And then we also want the price difference, and we've got that information: start pt.price and end pt.dt.price. We also do the abs value of the price, so if it's a negative it just makes it positive, and we store that also as a string. And then in the original program, what I tried to do was to plot backwards. I've left the syntax in the program there just to show you, and that worked fine, but the problem was that the the automatic max bars back setting was changing, which created problems. Having done that, having stored the information in the Appstorage, then we actually throw a exception, and I'm doing that using run command, and that will actually reload the program and the data. And to be able to do that, you need to make sure, if we just go to the program for a moment, I'll just show you. We need to make sure that in the program settings that this little box here is clicked, enable run command. And I've got it with confirmation on. You can change that to whatever you like, but just for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to keep it on so we can see what's going on. Okay, so back to the program. So that is the PlotVals. Now, all alone, nothing is making PlotVals run, so we need some way of doing that. And we do that using the charting host, and we're doing chart element click. So when the chart element is clicked, when the rectangle is clicked, then we run PlotVals. And then finally, when the program is reloaded, it's now got information in the Appstorage on each bar, on the first tick of the bar, in fact. And we do that using bar number is not equal to current bar, and bar number is a intrabar persist variable. Then we set bar number to be current bar. That just means that this will run on the first tick of this new bar. Then we store the bar date time and the bar number, as I already described, but then we look at the Appstorage and we say if Appstorage contains the bar number, remember we use bar number as our key, if it contains that value, then we use tokenList.create and we get the information out of the Appstorage. And the reason we use tokenList is because the information at the moment is stored in the Appstorage using a comma delimited list. So you could actually add other items if you wanted to, but you see here we have a string, a comma, a string, etc. And that nicely goes into a token list because then we can refer to the values using the square brackets, 0, square brackets, 1, etc. So we're saying if the bar number is in the Appstorage as the key, then we can get the relevant plot for the rectangle vals 0, rectangle vals being the token list. That will give us the numbers, and rectangle list 1 will give us the price difference. And then we clear rectangle vals just so that we don't get any confusion. And then the only final thing in the program is we just do a little bit of initiation in the once statement. We set up the charting host object, we set up the click event for the charting host, and we declare the variables. And incidentally, with the charting host, if you're not familiar with the syntax, you can always go to Toolbox and double click on charting host and then go to the designer generated code and copy the relevant sections into your program. So let's just show you how it works. If I were to draw a new rectangle, so I'm just going to go to rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle between these bars here. Now you'll see that the program is automatically asking me, do I want to run this macro? As I said before, we don't need necessarily to leave confirmation on, but I have done for the sake of this tutorial. So I'm going to say yes. So having got all the information, the program then reloads, and then when we hover over this rectangle, you'll see that it's got the information about the number of bars: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the price difference. And incidentally, the program is limited to just do this calculation when the rectangles are drawn within the bars of the chart. Anyway, hopefully you'll find this useful, not necessarily because you want to draw rectangles on your chart, but there may be other shapes that you wish to draw, and you might be interested in having other information displayed. But hope it was useful. Please, if you're not part of the Markplex email list, then go to markplex.com and join the Markplex email list. And I don't send many emails, I promise, probably about once every month or so. And then also, wherever you're watching this video, please subscribe. Thank you very much.